The trailer for Mufasa has just dropped, and I've been hearing all sorts of theories about the plot, which brings a major shift from the original story. So the plot is something like Simba becoming a king of the Pride Lands, and him having to teaching his kid to follow his path. But the main focus seemed to be on Mufasa. So one theory tells us a story about Mufasa being taken from his home during a great flood, where he gets separated from his parents and gets rescued by a small tanned hand, which reaches out and dragged him to safety. So apparently, his rescuer was none other than a young cub named Taka, who we know later as Scar. And the story suggests that Scar was bathing in the shallows when he saw Mufasa in the water. Now, on the original story, we know Taka got his scar when he was attacked by a herd of buffaloes. Also, he was named Taka after a Swahili word which means trash. But on this version of the story, he was named after his ancestor, Askari, and was nicknamed Scar by Mufasa after a cobra's venom scarred his eye. Now, with nowhere to go until the flood receded, Mufasa spent the next few days as Scar's guest. But the thing is, his father, Ahadi, who is the imposing ruler of the lions, isn't a big fan of outsiders. But Taka vouched for his new friend, and eventually Ahadi's wife, Nyanda, convinced him to let Mufasa stay until he could be returned to his family. And he learned to hunt small rodents with Taka, received combat training from Ahadi, and was doted on by Nanda as one of her own. But Ahadi never lost his reservation towards him. On other theories, we see that Scar is actually the one who gets rescued by Mufasa. Then, the two young cubs played and explored together, and an unbreakable bond formed between the pair, which does eventually break if you've seen The Lion King. Anyway, weeks turned to months, and before long, Mufasa was just another adopted member of Ahadi's pride. But showing Mufasa as this orphan kid brings a problem, because on the original movie, there were scenes where Mufasa tells Simba about their ancestors who were kings and ruler, which sort of emphasis he is from a long line of kings and not an orphan. Scar was also the second-born son of the Ahadi, who was resentful toward Mufasa for being favored by their father. Anyway, the main part of the story starts when trouble comes to the Pride, when a rogue gang of lions, driven from their own territory by a drought, began to take on Ahadi's lands. So Ahadi tried negotiating, promising to share the lands and waterholes if only the rogues would recognize his sovereignty and pride boundaries. But their leader wanted Ahadi's entire kingdom for himself and his own bloodthirsty sons. And it soon became clear that only outright warfare could settle this explosive conflict. And with most of his aged warriors dead and few allies to call on, desperation soon set in for Ahadi. So this is where Taka presented his shocking proposal, which was that he and Mufasa would leave alone in search of other lion prides to recruit as allies. And after much discussion, Ahadi reluctantly agreed to let the young lions go on their quest. So this is supposed to be the main plot of the story, which is the journey of this two to find allies to defend their home. So the thing about lions is when the male lion gets old, another lion comes and kills the head of the pride. And what that does is it causes the female lions to go into heat. And then the new younger lion kills the king, and then he kills all the babies. Now, he's the new lion that's running the pride. So, according to producer Don Hahn, Scar was originally depicted as this rogue lion who would come in and disrupt things before the filmmakers drew inspiration from King Claudius, the murderous brother of King Hamlet, in Shakespeare's Hamlet. So this also means originally they were not even meant to be brothers. But this theory could complicate things on how we view Scar's villainous acts in the original film, because the movie did paint him as evil and power-hungry, who's willing to brutally murder his own brother and nephew to steal the throne. So his villainy character was very clear-cut. However, by giving Scar a more fleshed out origin, showing him starting from a place of friendship and nobility, it sort of adds shades of gray and brings questions whether there were circumstances, resentments, or outside forces that gradually turned him to the dark side.